Okay, so you can see what we've done there is I've drilled into 4 holes. How this into place, what I've drilled through. These bolts will go through, they're only on there just at the moment, just tightening together. You see where they've come through at the bottom. In here is where the electronics is going to be, and we're also going to put some LEDs in. So we should be able to see, that's quite rigid now and firm. It's not too heavy, and it will fit somewhere on the Armour, like so, about there I would have thought. Then we can build round off it. Right, so next stage then is, you can also see I've drilled in 3 holes. Doesn't matter about the location, although I put one in the middle, etc., because this is going to have a plate across, just to hide them, just so they can see some lights going down them, etc. Now I'm going to use some different lights for these. I've used blue for the helmet, I've used white on the sides, sorry, on the front and the back, and so I'm going to use some of these clear LEDs, but they actually flash. So these LEDs will make them sort of flash as such. Let's just zoom in so you can see perhaps a little bit of the difference. And simple LEDs that will just light up. As with any LEDs, there is a plus side and a negative side. You can see the one leg's longer, that just means that goes to the positive. And the way I always remember it is there's more of that, so it's a plus, and that's a negative. And if you just drag your finger across, it does always pick up and just bend the positive one. And we need to look at how we're going to put that into a circuit. So just pop over here for a second, and here we go. Okay, so you can see what we've got on the board here is we're going to put the 3 LEDs inside, and from there, and then the wires from the LEDs are going to come off there, and they're going to come into the pack where I'm going to put the switch, which is probably somewhere here. That's just a push switch, and then the battery pack will fit in there like so. Okay, so this is what we're going to try and do. Inside the top hollow sleeve, I'm going to place in 3 LEDs to go across the top. This is to light up the arm, so it lights down. As well as the LEDs going into the top, the wires are then going to come off the LED ring, and it's then going to be connected into the square bit, which obviously fits inside this piece as well. In there, I'm just going to have a momentary switch, or a single pole, single throw would be better to keep them on onto there as well. We're going to have the battery, so there's going to be a battery cell connected to it, and depending on the LEDs and the current drawn, we might need to drop a resistor in, which usually, if we're using a 9-volt battery on the LEDs, depending on the current, is usually probably about a 330 ohm resistor. This is just off the top of my head, is bog standard. Obviously I haven't done Ohm's law to work that out yet, but we'll see what it is that we actually need as regards to current. How are we going to wire those up then? There's different ways you could do it. I'm probably thinking I'm going to go with a parallel circuit, and the reason I'm going to go with a parallel circuit is it's easier. So basically, for example, all these just connect up to one ring, and we put the inline switch into there as well, just connect it up to a battery. Where we go, we might need a resistor in there, and obviously what resistors do is it restricts the current. I'm just saying it's a 330 ohm, but I'm just guessing that one. We might need it, we may not, depends once I've worked out the maths on it. Or alternatively, what we can do is use a series circuit. Now the difference between the two is, in the parallel circuit, if there's a break at all between these points, and none of these will work. And with the series circuit, if there's a break in one of the lights, and then basically all of that one won't work, but the other two will. So it's just how we want to do it really, whether in series or parallel. I'm probably going to favour the parallel circuit, to be fair, just because it's easier. Okay, so here we go, we've got one wired up now, and you can see I've just undone the bolts. That would normally be that way. Inside this part is going to be the switch, which we're going to locate. Just look at the other one. The switch is either going to be located at the top, so it's easy to get to, but I'm not thinking of putting a panel on here, so that may not be the best. I could put a switch on the side, just to switch it off and on, sliding switch. So I haven't ruled out that option yet, although I think it'll be a bit messy, so I might just actually put the battery connector in here, battery pack in here, and then just put a switch on the side, so you can just reach in, switch them off and on. There are other places to obviously put the switches, for example in this part, but I just think that's going to be a bit too obvious for what we're going to do. So that's the plan. So what we've done then is, I'm not going to do any fancy stuff with it. This is before I resin it. I'm just going to do these out the way slightly, and you can see what I've actually done. If I just zoom in a little bit, is all I've done is just place the LEDs. I've put all the positives one way, all the negatives the other, and just literally soldered them, kept them away from each other and soldered them into them. You can see that the LEDs don't actually break through the side, and the reason I don't want them to break through that edge is just so I can put a plate on them as well. And that should be ready to wire up. Now I've got these which will actually go into the black circuit at some point to wire those up. So I've left those bits on, so there's the stuff to go into there, and these should actually wire up. So what I will do is just connect that up to a battery cell and we get a switch. It hasn't got the LEDs marked up, so I don't know which is a positive and negative yet, but I can just do that by switching the battery. And of course it hasn't got a resistor in, so this is a point where I need to check. It's a 9 volt square battery that I should be using. So I'm going to wire that up, and then once I've done that, we'll come back and have a look at how that goes. Right, so that's the LEDs in place. You can see that they're flashing LEDs, and they're flashing at different times, depending on the current that it's drawing. The first one's controlling the other one, so obviously when power goes through, it sort of stops them, which is why they're randomly flashing between in different sequences, which I think works quite well, to be honest. So they're just completely different, random, going from there. I'm not sure whether they're bright enough to be seen fully when that's on the arm. It's actually be placed down, but what we can do is change these if we need to for the ultra bright lights. But I think at the moment these are actually working quite well, or they were. I'll just connect that back up to the battery. It's only a makeshift sort of battery, so it tends to be working okay there. So they're basically just things just flashing, just give it a bit more lift. Whether we'll see that on the red background, I'm not too sure as well. But like I say, we can always change the colour of the LEDs if we find that they're not working for the ultra bright ones. And that's pretty much that in a nutshell, really, to be honest. So that's the arm bits. The next thing for me to do is, once they're all together, is to resin them and get these sprayed up. There's a bit more decal to go on the tops, and then once I've done that, what I then need to look at is how I'm going to turn this bicep into the actual bicep arm with the front and the back, and how I'm going to connect that to keep it all in place. And other than that, that's that tutorial on how to do the biceps, and I hope you found that useful.